Hello everyone, welcome to this overview of the panel of the V-160HD. We're going to start with the top panel, and then we'll also talk about the connections on the back. And then we will also discuss Bluetooth and foot switches as a brief overview. Just like our other video switchers, you have program in the V-Series. You have program on this row right here, preset, which goes to preview. This is my multi-viewer up here. And then there's program out. You have your split effects and controls. Then the mode button is multifunction. So it's like on V60 or V8. You'll see you have the aux output that you can set here. So any of these 10 cross points can be set to an aux output using one of the 7 outputs on the back. Now, note too with there's 10 cross points here, right? When we say cross point, we say that in the sense that you can have any of the 16 inputs or any of the 16 still images be assigned to these 10 channels. So these cross points are pretty flexible in terms of routing. And so you can see here, I just have 4 sources connected, but you have SDI 1, 2, 3, and 4. And to fill out the multi-view, I have SDI 4, 3, 2, and 1. 2 cross points 1 through 8. And then 9 and 10, they're not on the standard multi-viewer, but you can assign them in the menu. We'll get to that later. And you can see everything with the 16 input view, which we'll get into in a bit as well. And above this is the composition controls. So picture-in-picture, which can also do luma key or chroma key, windowed or full screen. And then the downstream keyer, which is the top layers that are reserved for graphics. We'll get into that when we talk about compositions. The audio mixer, so analog inputs, the XLR, TRS combo inputs, the RCA input. You can enable and disable auto mixing. Then there's an aux audio bus, and you can do sends if you want to say create a mix minus. You can control the level of that bus there. The USB stream has a separate level control, so the main mix, the master output that goes to the USB stream, you can further adjust it. Say my stream is not loud enough and I get feedback, and from an audience I can increase the level before addressing other things with the mix later on. And user buttons can be changed in the menu, so I can freeze output, auto switching, record control for Atomos recorders that are compatible, and then going into PTZ camera control as well, or capturing a live input to one of the 16 still image slots. Output fade is fade to black. These are your menu controls here, which appear on HDMI output 3, which is this LCD menu, and HDMI output 3 is a copy of that. Transition controls, so you have cut, auto, which is a timed T-bar transition, a Bluetooth indicator for connecting a music player on a phone or tablet, or our iPad remote app, which will be coming out in early August. The sequencer is related to macros. So this mode here, we talked about aux. Memory is like memory presets, so you can recall different groups of settings, including picture-in-picture and downstream keyer transitions. And then macros are sequences of commands that you can program into this using the menu interface or the remote app. It can be really simple or really complex, so it's a pretty open-ended feature that really enhances the usability of V160. Sequencer takes it a step further by letting you run a sequence of macros or memory presets in a specific order, and you can cycle through them with the next button or do an auto sequence with the timing that you set. We're going to go to the back of the V160HD. So on the top right, along the top right there, you have the 8 SDI inputs and the 8 HDMI inputs. Inputs 5 through 8 on the HDMI side have scalars. So keep this in mind. If you're outputting 1080p at 59.94 frames a second, you can bring in different frame rates to the SDI and HDMI inputs. As far as resolution and scan type, if you're outputting 1080p, you can bring in a mix of 1080i and 1080p. And if you're working with 1080i output, the same also applies. If you're doing 720 output, the SDI inputs and the first 4 HDMI inputs need to be 720p. But those 4 scalers on HDMI 5 through 8 will up or down convert. You can resize and reposition the video in the frame. And then to the left of that, you have 6 video outputs. The 7th that I mentioned earlier is USB streaming. So you got 3 SDI out, 3 HDMI out. These can be program, preview, aux, subprogram, which is a like a remix of program. We'll get into that in a bit, as well as any of the multi-views. So you have the multi-view, 16 input view, and 16 still view. A LAN control port, so you can send commands over TCP/IP. USB streaming output with a USB-C port. So you can use a USB Type-C to Type-A cable or a Type-C to Type-C cable. Contact me for more information about that. I have sent recommendations out. But with that, you want to keep in mind that that port, the cables that they use, you want to use a cable that supports super speed USB connection. Otherwise, if you don't do that, a lot of USB-C cables out there might be just for charging phones and won't be fast enough to transport video. Above that is a reference if you're going to use Genlock. To the left of that, you're going to see 2 1/4-inch inputs. Those are for foot switches. You can use just 4 different Boss foot switches that can be used to trigger commands on the V-160HD. We'll get into that later. The XLR TRS combo inputs and RCA inputs. So you saw those audio controls earlier. And then you have balanced and unbalanced audio output. And above that, RS-232 for serial control. Same command set as that TCP LAN control. And then Tally and GPIO if you're going to wire this to a Tally system. Or you want to use general purpose input and output for commands. And of course the power button. And this uses our PSB14U power supply. Talking about Bluetooth devices, all you have to do is go into the system menu and then go to Bluetooth and then turn it on and then execute a pairing and then pair your phone or tablet to it. And you'll be able to send 2 channels of audio into it. So there's a stereo Bluetooth audio input channel in the digital mixer. Or once you have the remote app, you can set up a Bluetooth connection from that as well and have wireless control of the V-160HD. And then foot switch, I have a Boss FS5U. So if you go to CTL/EXP, that's number 19 on that main menu. You choose which port you want to set it up for. I have this Boss FS5U to do cuts. So you can see as I press this foot switch, it's cutting. So pretty straightforward. There's a lot of customization you can do with that. And you have 2 ports. The FS6 has 2 switches. So you could have a total of 4 switches with 2 FS6s connected and set up with this CTL EXP menu. Next, we're going to jump into basic operations. So we'll take it from there.